Okay, here we have a shading tutorial on drawing an ice cube with some water drops. So we're going to go ahead and fill in this top area here, and as you can see the rest of it's already been drawn obviously, but just to kind of show you the different values that are in a simple picture like a ice cube and some water. So this is an actual real ice cube that I photographed, and this is what it looks like. So as you can see from the photo, we're going to go ahead and fill in the rest of it. So let's get started. So right here I'm just adding some basic contour lines. They also serve as guidelines to kind of help me know where to put my patterns of the ice cube, so I don't have to do a lot of guessing later and a lot of erasing. There will be some erasing on some parts of the cube. If you shade too dark, that's fine. We're using an H pencil or a 2H pencil. Using an HB for this drawing is too strong, and you're going to get too dark really quick. So there are a lot of medium values in this drawing. So I'm just going to go ahead and get some background music going and just follow along. Remember, you can pause the video if you need to see what I've done, which is completely fine. And any step on any drawing video really, you should go ahead and just watch it all the way through and then go back and pause it and do the drawing at the same time. Okay, I'm just going to zoom on in a little bit. So right here I'm using different techniques which come to me just kind of like logically, They just make common sense as I do them. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll make some quick straight hatch marks, like, let me see, I'm just gonna get an example here. So I'm either shading this way, and little marks that go in here, I just kind of randomly scribble. But I'm looking at the my reference photo, so I can see how the texture looks like. And in some other areas, I'll just do small little circles like so, and it also helps to kind of fill in small areas rather quickly without changing the value too much. So for tight areas, it's good to do little circles just to fill in your area. If you do hatching, you might go over the lines of your area, so small circles does the trick pretty well. So as you can see, there's a lot of different textures going on in this piece of ice cube. It's never really just a smooth surface sometimes, and it's a lot more interesting when you can draw something that has texture on the surfaces. It just makes it for something more interesting to look at. And what I've also done, we have a blank sheet of paper which is white, and what I've done here, I actually shaded very lightly some background area, because in the photo the only areas that are white are the reflected parts of the ice cube. Anything that's shiny and reflective and it's bouncing light off of it will be a pure white. So you save that, or the color of the paper, as your highlight color, and what you want to do is you want to shade around it. So you want to darken the areas around the highlight in order to make this stand out and be really bright. So let's go ahead and do this other water drop. I'll bring the photo back up so you can see what this looks like. Okay, so in the photo, this water drop is actually really light, but we're going to go ahead and just darken some areas to make it stand out, because the shadows that this drop creates is actually too light to really be noticeable. So we're going to take some artistic license here and just shade them a little bit darker than what's in the photo in order for the shadow to pop out. So as you can already see, it's starting to happen, but we also need to shade the background around it. I'm going to erase my sample area very carefully. And I'm still using my 2H pencil, and we're going to lightly fill in the area around the water drop. So we're using simple, straight hatching strokes just to kind of create some uniformity and keep everything even. So we're going to shade around the marks that are already there, fill in the gaps, because it's just background. But you have to go really light. And in order to get this a tone, this light gray, you really need to practice a lot in getting your pencil pressure down. It took me a long time to learn how to create some nice, soft, gentle strokes and get some really light values, almost close to white sometimes, and also create an even texture. So you can see it's a little bit darker now than this is. That's the color of the paper. This is our pencil lines. So that's enough for us to work with. So let's go into the water drop now. I'm just going to gently draw in my edge of the water drop. And what I want to do next is I want to mark where my highlights are very lightly, because I want to shade around that. So there's a highlight down here. Looks like it only took 3 lines to create it. Kind of a triangle shape. And there is a long big highlight right here. It's kind of thick down here, and it gets skinny up in here in the top area, very thin, and then it gets really big. And we have some reflected light up in here on the top edge. So let's go ahead and start shading. And all you need to do is just look at a water drop. You can take a photo of one, or if you're drawing an actual sample of a water drop on a paper plate, for example, the ones that are made from styrofoam work the best because they actually help create shapes of water drops, but regular paper is fine too. So as I'm shading in, I have to be careful what the shadow looks like in the water drop compared to the background, because they're almost close in value. So, but the shadow on this guy here, on this area, or not the shadow, but the value, is a little bit darker than the background. So that helps. And what we did here is we created some contrast. And contrast just means something that's darker compared, or that's next to something else that's lighter. And they're very noticeable. So, for example, the most basic, easiest way to explain contrast is if you have black letters on a white background, or white letters on a black background. The contrast is really strong with that. But if you have a medium gray letter on a lighter gray background, the contrast is less, because those two grays are too close together in value, and you want to be able to separate those values a little bit. Okay, so we know that there's gray around the highlight, so we have to fill these guys in. Okay, let's look at the photo, see what's going on down here. Okay, so right here at the edge of our water drop is our reflected light, or light that's bouncing off the surface or through the water drop. Water is kind of cool because it, depending what shape it is, it's actually bending light and causing it to bounce off in different directions. That's why you see dark areas and light areas, and it looks like there's light inside the water when all that is just the light hitting your eye that's being reflected directly at you, compared to the other areas where there's less light coming at you, so it looks darker. Anyways, just remember that water will act dark to light for the most part when you're shading it, and it helps if your background surface is the same value, right? So here you have a darker area on top edge of the water drop, and it's fading into a light area at the bottom part of the water drop. So you have light happening right along the edge, and by keeping these highlights here, you can tell this is a somewhat of a shiny surface, very glossy, so, and we're just perfecting our shading by doing a little bit of cross hatching and looking at our photo reference and making the water look like water. And there you have it. So just practice with your values, and in a short time you should be able to do something similar to this. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and finish off the drawing here, and just follow along, and remember you can pause if you have to.